Hi everyone! Today we're making bunny macarons with a cookie butter filling. We'll be using my beginner French macaron recipe. I'll walk you through all of the steps for the macaron batter, how to make the designs on your bunnies, and how to make this delicious cookie butter buttercream. Weigh out all of your dry ingredients: 145 grams of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of cocoa powder, and 100 grams of almond flour. I'm sifting all of my ingredients together and combining them and setting them to the side while I prepare my meringue. I added 85 grams of aged egg whites and a pinch of salt to my bowl and started whipping them on medium speed with my hand mixer until they got frothy. It took about a minute for them to get frothy, and then I started adding in my granulated sugar a little bit at a time. Once all of my granulated sugar was added, I kept whipping my egg whites until I reached stiff peaks. Don't get impatient with this step because most of the issues with macarons are due to the fact that the meringue is not prepared correctly. So you continue whipping and you'll start noticing that the meringue starts forming these little ridges. That lets you know that it's time to start checking the consistency of your meringue. This is too soft, so we'll continue whipping and we'll continue checking the consistency until our meringue holds peaks. You'll see them right here.
Bruh.
I swear, every time I make macarons, my patience is tested. But anyways, after I got that cleaned up, I continued with my macaronage process. For these macarons, I added the dry ingredients in 3 parts. I've noticed that when I add them in 2 parts, I get a lot of air bubbles in my batter, and I don't like that, so I wanted to test out if it makes a difference if I add it in 3 parts, and it did. I got a smoother batter, and I didn't get many air bubbles when I piped out the macarons. The purpose of the macaronage is to get some of the air out that we incorporated into the meringue. But you don't want to overdo it because then you end up with flat macarons. If you've ever made macarons and they don't rise, you don't get the feet you get with macarons, it's likely due to overfolding of the batter. You left the batter too runny and you knocked out all of the air of the meringue. In the same way that we check the consistency of the meringue, we want to check the consistency of the batter. Here the batter is not flowing off smoothly off the spatula, so we're going to keep folding until we reach this consistency. It falls off the spatula in a ribbon-like form and it doesn't break. I transferred my macaron batter to a piping bag fitted with a round tip. This tip is a Tico or a Teco. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's number 803. I used my Cricut to make a template, and you can also find the template in my blog post. If you want a video on how I make my templates using my Cricut, let me know and I'll make time for that. I started piping the bunny ears first and then moved on to the face. This piping tip worked perfect for the size that I made the bunnies. I made them 2.3 inches times 3.5, so 2.3 inches wide, 3.5 inches in height. When I was done piping the macarons, I tapped the tray a couple of times to help the batter settle and release any air bubbles. I removed my template from my parchment paper and let the macarons rest for about 15 minutes while I prepared my cookie butter buttercream. I added 114 grams of softened butter to my bowl and beat it with my hand mixer until it was light and fluffy. Then I added 95 grams of sifted powdered sugar and combined that until it was light and fluffy, making sure to scrape down the bowl to get all of that powdered sugar combined with the butter. I added 60 grams of Biscoff Cookie Butter and a splash of vanilla. Biscoff cookies are one of my favorite things ever, and that's why I wanted to make this filling for these macarons. If you've never tried cookie butter, I highly suggest for you to try it. And if you make these macarons, I promise you, you are going to love them. I transferred my buttercream to a piping bag fitted with a Wilton 32 tip and set that aside while I decorated my bunnies. I waited for the macarons to cool down and then paired them together, and then melted down 40 grams of white chocolate melt, divided it in two. One I kept white and the other I used this bubblegum color to make it a light pink so that I can use that for my bunny nose. I started decorating my bunny by piping out a small heart for the nose, and once that was dry, I went in and started using a black food color marker for the little mouth and the eyes. Macaron shells are pretty fragile, so make sure that you don't press down too hard with the marker, otherwise you'll crack your macaron shell. I used the white half of my chocolate to add the details for the eyes. And then I realized I had forgotten all about the ear, so I went in with the pink and added those details. After I had all of the bunny faces done, I went in again with the melted chocolate and created a sprinkle crown for the bunnies. Make sure that you're adding the sprinkles right away, otherwise the chocolate will harden and the sprinkles won't stick. Lastly, I filled the macarons with the delicious cookie butter filling. You don't have to use a tip, I just thought that it would look cute this way. And there you have it, super cute and super delicious bunny macarons. If you found this video helpful in any way, please make sure you give it a like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time!